Hello and welcome to my watch reviews. Well, I'm back with another Baltany, but not a Baltany as we know it, because we're used to seeing these military inspired watches or watches from yesteryear, usually on a smaller sizing like 36, 38 millimeters, and they are exceptional at what they do on that genre. But here we are with something completely different. This is a solid bronze dive watch. Now, in typical my watch reviews, we're going to get up close and personal with this, with the microscope. We're going to look at it from all different angles and see what we think of it. And then I actually found a little small problem in the movement. So I'm going to show you in this video also how I regulated this watch to get it to run a lot better. So stick around and let's crack on with the dial. Now, if you're new to my channel, I film all my reviews outside. I think that's the best light to show a watch, and as a result on this one I've got a little bit careless. You can see a little bit of dust. I can assure you that is on the glass and not inside the watch. So there is the dial. It is absolutely beautiful. It's a lovely burgundy brown colour, and it's actually starburst as well, and I think that does complement very well with the bronze as it stands, because bronze at the moment is nice and shiny, but it will age and patina, and it depends if you like that in a watch. Bronze can go quite dark and eventually can go green as well if you allow it. So as it's all sort of factory fresh, you see it as in its best form really. The layout of the dial is pretty plain. It's uncluttered. I guess that's what you want in a dive watch. The whole idea about a dive watch is legibility. You've got circular indices there for most of the hour markers, along with batons at 3, 6 and 9, and a triangle at 12 to identify what they are, I guess, in the dark. Gilt or gold coloured hands. Nice matching loom, I have to say. It kind of complements again that burgundy and the bronze as well. There's a very big second hand on this watch. I guess it has to be because the dial is big. You've got a loom pip on the end, which I know is very important for some people. In some of my other reviews, people have complained that a watch has not got a loom pip on a second hand. I don't think it's mandatory personally. Depends on the type of watch, I guess. I think on Baltany with this one, obviously the gold works with the browns and the bronze, but I would just like to see something a little bit different, perhaps a different style on that second hand to make it stand out and be a little bit bold. After all, it is a big dive watch. You have the Baltany print there at 12, which is what you typically see. Automatic and 200 meters of water resistance, and that is by a screw down case back and screw down crown. Let's finish the dial off with the loom shot. So it looks to me like BGW9 with the green glow. They call it Swiss Luminova Retro, which I guess is saying it's got that aged patina, that faded look. It burned brightly for ages. This is a 10-minute test and it did not fade at all. I think I could have ran this for half an hour and it would still be as bright as it was here. Absolutely incredible loom, and it was very surprising, to be quite honest. Here's the bezel. It's 120 clicks. I like the starburst finish on it. I don't like the fact that I can't really read it well. I think the numbers need to be filled in. It does feel a little bit tinny, and I guess that's just because it's bronze and not steel, and that's why I'm not sure if I like that bezel. Here we go with the sizing. I get it at 43 millimeters. They get it at 44. Either way, that is a big watch. Thickness 14.4, not too bad for a diver. The lug to lug, bit of an eye-watering 51 millimeters, which is pretty much 2 inches, and the lug width is going to be 22 millimeters. So what does that translate to on a wrist? Well, here you go. I've got 7-inch or 18 centimeter wrists, and it is a massive watch. I'm so used to wearing small vintage watches, but this is just a bit too big for me. I know a lot of you though do like big watches, so this could be perfect for a bigger arm. Here we can see the type of a finish they've applied. It's kind of a sandblast finished almost. It's smooth, don't get me wrong, but it's not shiny or brushed or anything like that. I think that will patina up really nicely. That's the aim of this watch. You can already see on the bezel grip there that parts of it are starting to shine up, and they will eventually dull and change the whole look of the watch completely. However, here on the bezel you can see that it's got almost like water droplets that have changed the colour. It came like that out of the packet. It had a protective paper around it to stop it from fading, but clearly something had happened somewhere, which is a little bit of a disappointment. I think you can get that off with lemon juice or something. But yes, it's going to change colour anyway the more you wear this type of watch. I'm just admiring again that dial colour. I really do like the dial colour. The choice of strap is an interesting one. I quite like it. I like the colours that are coming through on it, and the stitching, of course. Go down to the buckle here, and the buckle's straight off a Panerai. Let's face it, there's no two ways about it. I think the strap will sort of break in well. It is quite thick, so it's going to take some doing to do that. But I also question why we have a leather strap on a dive watch. Surely we need a rubber strap if we were serious about taking it into water. Not that most of my dive watches go anywhere near water anyway. Top of the strap, of course, is the case back, and there you go. You've got a nice bit of stainless steel which won't affect your wrist. Lovely brushing on it. A very difficult one to remove. To get to the movement you need a sticky ball or a very special tool. I, of course, will only use a sticky ball on these. And this is the movement inside. Surprise, surprise, it is the NH38. Yes, not the 35. The significance of that, of course, is there's no date complication on this one, so there's no ghost position on the crown. So it's the right movement for the watch. NH Seiko movements are brilliant. Good workhorses, lots of power reserve, hand wind, hack in, plenty of jewels. They don't really go wrong that often, and if they do, they're easily replaceable. So a good little workhorse under the hood, so to speak. Okay, let's test it, see how well this one is performing. And right off the bat, I don't like the look of that, to be honest with you. So we've got an okay rate. Beat error, in my view, is unacceptable at 0.6. I don't think Seiko actually tell us what the range of beat error should be. However, the trace you can see is a little bit, well, I'll call it noisy. So you've got one straightish line at the bottom, and the one at the top is a little bit up and down, and that would suggest the pallet fork. So yeah, I'm going to take the case back off. I'm going to put it on the microscope and just see if we can see anything obvious first of all. And I certainly want to bring that beat error in, so I think I will show on film a little bit of regulation. Okay, we're looking at the movement pretty close up, and the only thing that strikes me here is that top jewel. So firstly, the spring isn't on as well as I'd like, and I can't tell if the circle there, it looks a bit discoloured, which almost could mean dried oil. I'd be very surprised to see dried oil in a new movement, in all fairness, and the Timegrapher is telling me really that it's sort of pallet fork issues. But I think what we'll do is I'm going to remove the jewel, have a look. If it's okay, put it back, and then have another look on the Timegrapher. Well, there's the jewel, and I'm completely mistaken. There is nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I guess I'll have to clean it now and re-oil it and put it back in. Not going to show you that on a review. If you want to see more watchmaking sort of things, head over to my Retro Watches, my other channel. Well, I removed the balance out of curiosity, and I'm kind of glad I did. Not sure how well we're going to be able to see this on camera, but you need to be looking at this stone here. Maybe that stone there a little bit. So these are for your escape. If you don't know, this is your escape wheel here with the funny sort of feet teeth, and that's basically making the whole thing work. And you should oil, or usually the exit. Seiko tend to tell you to oil both, but most of us don't. We just do the exit. And I'm going to try and just angle this a little bit. Right, from there we have, well, we have a little fibre there, but that might have just come in. There's a drop of oil on the stone there. That should not be there. It should be on the end, because it's the ends where it needs to be. So that will be, believe it or not, having a detrimental effect. Now, I did also see a spot of oil on one of the teeth as well, but I now can't see that so much. And then when I look at this one, the entry jewel, it's really hard to focus for you, I'm afraid. The shiny bit there could be the droplets of oil that have come around the back, and again, they shouldn't be there. So realistically, I should just take that off, give it a quick clean, and put it back in situ. So maybe the next shot you're now going to see is it on the Timegrapher. Watch is now back on the Timegrapher. It's all been cleaned. At least the pallet fork was cleaned, and the jewel spring is now fitted correctly. And as you can see, it's made a fairly dramatic change, actually. I was quite surprised. The rate is now absolutely perfect, really, but it's made the beat error even wider. It's now 2.4. A little bit strange. So for this video, I'm actually going to correct that beat error and at least try and get this one running to how I think a watch should be regulated. Okay, let's try and bring that beat error in. Just very gentle nudges. Now it's looking pretty close. Don't worry about the rate, we correct that afterwards. And of course you've got to be very careful that you then don't start slipping. So now we're down to about 0.2, 0.3, there we go. So another little nudge. I think I've gone past it. Trouble with this is all my cameras are in the way. Series of little moves everywhere. And there we go. I think I've got it somewhere better. Is it running just a little bit slow? I have to wait for it to catch up. So beat error is spot on, and the rate is going to be, well, it'll probably stay at -6. I can probably tweak that just a little bit. But you get the picture. That's how I would tweak one of these. Not for the faint-hearted. I've got a lot of experience. If you went out and bought a Timegrapher and tried this on your own for the first time, you'd have to be very careful, of course, not to touch the balance or the hairspring, or else your watch is ruined. As I'm talking, I'm just seeing it drop off there a little bit, so I will speed that up ever so slightly. And I should also check it in all different positions, which I won't do in this particular video. So look, just that little tiny move has sent it on a much bigger trajectory. Here we go then, one final time. That's the end result. Very satisfied with that. The rate is pretty decent. Beat error is where it should be. Okay, it's under the microscope for the dial time, and well, the dial out of the case is actually quite lovely. I do like that sort of sunburst texture on there. It's coming in a sort of a browny colour. I think it's supposed to be maroon, I'm not sure, but it's definitely a brown to me. But look at how that plays with the light. I know I take it out of focus a little bit. But yeah, it's really good. There are a few little points that I'm not so struck on. So if we look at the second hand again close up, it's okay, but these are just pressed out, and there's just a little mark there, possibly where it was attached to whatever it was attached to. I thought it was fluff, tried to wipe it away, and it hasn't moved. That said, honestly, you are not going to see that with your naked eye at all. And the indices, well, they're okay. They're nice and proud, obviously filled with lume. However, they're just a bit plain for my liking. It's like they're just off the shelf, and yeah, I'm not sure. But that colour is absolutely beautiful. And I've just come a little bit closer into that hand. I am really clutching at straws. I shouldn't pick on a watch so much, but you can see it there, can't you? And that is, like I say, on the hand. It's not something I can clean off. Similar with those little marks there. Again, let's just see if I can zoom in on the print. And that texture again. That texture's absolutely beautiful, isn't it? So there we go. Tell me what you think. Do you like the look of this dial? There's a little bit of dust there now. In fairness, that will be in my atmosphere now. I'm trying to blow it away, but I'll need to give this dial a wipe before I put it back in the watch. So yes, like I say, leave your comments below. Do you like that? Do you like this feature of my reviews? That's the important bit for me to continue taking watches out of the cases and sticking them under here. This watch is currently for sale for $199 US. That's around about £160, 185 euros. And this is in a sale. You can see it's been reduced there from 229. I'm sure I actually saw it at $300 at one point. Baltany are offering a heck of a lot again for not a lot of money. 157 for a bronze watch is decent. Obviously you've got to like this one in particular, but what Baltany seem to do well is their price point for what you're actually going to get. So I can't fault them for that. But let's summarise the watch now and give you my final thoughts. So on a personal note, this watch isn't for me. I do like a bronze watch. I just can't get over the size of this one. It's far too big for my wrist, and it's not really my style, but I'm sure it is for other people. As I've just said, Baltany offer a lot for their money, and you can't argue at the price of this one. I just think for Baltany as a brand that perhaps this is a watch they shouldn't really be making. Is this trying to be the Oris Bronze Diver? I don't know. There's some similarities somewhere along the line. I think they should still stick to those proper, 1920s, 1930s watches, especially they do really well, and the other field and military watches that they do. This is a good buy for somebody who likes it. There will be a link down below, of course, in the description, so you can take a look there a bit closer. If you want to pick one up, that would be great. The link to their website is not affiliated. The link to AliExpress will be. Yeah, that's it. I've got plenty more reviews coming up very soon. Leave your comments below on this one. I appreciate your feedback, and I will see you very soon in the next video. Please like, subscribe, do all the necessaries, and bye for now.